Well, there are 26 different states who have abortion laws on the books. And as you mentioned, 13 of them have trigger laws. Some five of those, I believe, have already gone into effect. And in other states, such as Texas, for example, whether or not the law has immediately gone into effect, abortion clinics have started shutting down. So the reaction is swift. And, this has been part of a campaign of anti-abortion activists to get this done. And they did it by putting a lot of these laws in place and getting it tested by the Supreme Court.
Well, there is some indication that some states will move to outlaw travelling to other states to have an abortion. How likely will this be?
I don't think that would pass constitutional muster. I mean, certainly there are efforts afoot to do that, but we have a fundamental right to interstate travel in this country that would interfere with their ability to do that. And that can be relied upon to strike that aspect of those laws down.
And which are the states that have vowed to protect the right to abortion, and how do they plan to do so?
Well, California, Illinois, Florida, although that one is somewhat up in the air, New York, New Jersey. Basically, the states that protect abortion are on the coasts and Illinois. And they have vowed to expand access and fight for. There's a very much an effort afoot to fight for federal legislation on this point to codify Roe. There's some constitutional questions as to whether the federal government has the power to do that. And with this Supreme Court in place, you can't expect a particularly receptive audience there with respect to federal power. A lot of it is going to have to be grassroots movements that make abortion available. The other thing that we have yet to see is what medication abortions availability is going to do. There are some possibilities that the federal government can take some action there, without running afoul of the state bans.
A big concern among many is what other laws are in danger of being repealed. How real a possibility is it that same-sex marriage, the right to contraception, could also be under threat?
Well, if you look at the opinion by Justice Alito, there is extremely negative language in there about what we call substantive due process. And that is the court's tradition since the 1850s of reading implied fundamental rights into the due process clause. Same-sex marriage is one of those. The right to marry itself is one of those. The right not to send your children to public school and go to private school instead is one of those. And yet there is a great deal of talk among these five members of the court about how controversial that is because it's not written in the Constitution. I think the American people are are less than well educated on how many rights they hold and take for granted are, quote, unwritten in the Constitution. And that word needs to be spread.
Mm. And this ruling has come about thanks to the majority of Republican-appointed justices who control the Supreme Court. Is this supermajority expected to last for decades to come, or might changes be made, for example, increasing the number of justices who serve to prevent this from happening?
Well, that has certainly been in the air, talk about expanding the number of justices on the court. And if anything, this will increase the push toward that. And that is something that can be done, but we have trouble at this point getting anything through Congress. Either side has trouble getting anything through Congress at this point. So that very much remains to be seen. And as far as they're staying on the court, yes, they are there for a while. Clarence Thomas and Alito are the most likely candidates for coming off, but that doesn't seem very likely.
And just lastly, it really is such a highly divisive topic. What are most Americans saying?
Well, we're very split. many, many, many women are devastated and heartbroken and fearing for their daughters. Other people are rejoicing because they, feel very strongly that abortion is wrong and a problem. I think everyone's in a little bit of shock on both ends at this point. And it's going to take a little while for the dust to settle and to see what this portends for our future in terms of fundamental rights. This is the first time that a right has been narrowed by the Supreme Court. And that's not really what the Supreme Court is there to be doing. Our system is set up so that the Supreme Court is protector against majority overreach.
Professor Emerita Lynne Rambo, great to talk. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.